Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel and my very hot apartment. I think nowadays in Denmark we have about 31 degrees Celsius, so we are definitely in the middle of a heat wave. But I'm not complaining, I'm just saying. So for today's video, we are going to heat things up a little bit and talk about some books that I believe are going to be amazing and that I think I'm going to give 5 stars to, even though I haven't read them yet. Basically, I'm going to do the tag that Mercedes from MercysBookishMusings created about a year ago, I think. And I remember thinking back a year ago that this was a really hard tag to do, and I didn't think I would be able to do it myself, hence why I have been waiting for so long to actually do it. But once I started scanning my shelves and once I got the ball rolling, I couldn't stop myself. So even though I think you're only supposed to find 5 books, I have found 6 books that I would like to talk to you about now and that I will hopefully end up loving once I read them. And Sue says hi in the background. I don't think he has any books prepared for this video, so yeah, just leave now. The first book I have chosen is by an author that I've already read and loved, so it's based on that love for her that I think I'm going to love this book as well. This is a non-fiction book and it is Half Broke Horses, a true life novel by Janet Waltz. This is a non-fictional account on Janet Waltz's grandmother and how she remembers her and how she grew up with her. And that's all I know. I previously read The Glass Castle by Janet Waltz, which is more about Janet's own life and upbringing, and I love that book to pieces. So it's based on that love that I think I'm going to love this one as well. I think that if it's written just as well as the first book I read of hers, then I'm going to devour it and purely love it for its writing. But I also think that there's something special about the relationship between you and your grandmother. So I'm very curious to read this and see if that special relationship shines through the pages and makes me fall in love with this account. I think it's more of a memoir actually. Nevertheless, it's on my list and I think it's one that I'm going to give 5 stars to, but we will see, I guess. I think most of the books I've picked out are by authors that I already know and that I have previously loved. So that was my tactic when picking out these novels. And that goes for the next book as well, which is Joyce Carol Oates' We Were the Mulvaneys. So I love Joyce Carol Oates and I think that I've given all, or at least most of the previous books I've read of hers, 5 stars. So I think this is going to be another one of those. A lot of people have also said to me that this book is amazing, so I think I'm going to love it, but we will see. This one is set in New York, I believe, and it's about this family who are pretty grand and people admire them, but then something happens to one of the girls in the family who is only 16 years old, and this event that happens, which I don't know what is, but this event darkens their reputation and makes people realize that maybe this family is not as grand as they thought they would be. That's all I get from the synopsis, but I know Joyce Carol Oates and I know how excellent she is at writing compelling stories. So if this book is as good as some of the others I've read of hers, then it's definitely a 5-star read. But this is so hard. I mean, there are so many of these books I could end up just liking and not loving. But I guess that's the point of this video, seeing if you will be disappointed or if your expectations will be fulfilled, I guess. Next I have another book which is by one of my favorite authors, but I have yet to read this novel, and that is Haruki Murakami's Hard-Boiled Wonderland and the End of the World. I haven't looked deeply into the synopsis because I know I love Murakami and I know that he writes whimsical stories that are just up my alley. I'm currently reading his newest book, Killing Commendatora, and being back into this whimsical world of his is just fascinating. So I think it's going to be the same case with this book, and I don't want to know too much about the story because I find that if I know too much, it's not necessarily a good thing for my reading experience of his books for some reason. So it's one that I've heard excellent things about, and it's one that's been on my shelves for years now, just because I want to have something to look forward to by Murakami's. But I'm pretty sure that I'm going to love this book and give it 5 stars. Next we have a novel which I recently bought, and it's probably the most risky one on my list because it's by an author I have never read and I don't know too much about the actual content, but nevertheless I have a feeling that this is going to be a favorite read of mine this year, and that is A Gentleman in Moscow by Amor Towles. Anyway, so this book is one that a lot of people rave about and they say it's their favorite. That doesn't mean that it's going to be my favorite book, but when I read the synopsis, I love that it's set in Moscow in 1922, and it's about this man who is being held a prisoner in this hotel of some kind while a revolution is going on in the streets of Moscow. That's at least what I get from the synopsis. And then this is the account of what happens to this man while he is imprisoned in this hotel. It's one that people tell me is perfect for reading when you need a nice cozy read inside while it is cold and snowy outside. So I think it's one I'm going to save for autumn or winter, but I also have this feeling, holding it in my hands, that this is going to be amazing. And I'm going to stick to that feeling and say that I think it's going to be a 5-star read, having no idea about the writing, the actual content, and whether this is actually a book for me or not. But that's the fun of this kind of video, I guess. You never really know, but you will find out. Next book is another one by one of my favorite authors of all time, and that is John Steinbeck. So I have here To a God Unknown. Now, reading the synopsis of this book, I am so compelled to pick it up right away because it just sounds like your typical John Steinbeck book that will break your heart but also enchant you and make you keep on reading even though you have other things to do. This book is set in America and it follows a family in which we have a son that decides to move to California to start his own farm, I believe, and his own life. And then when he arrives at this new farm, he finds a peculiar tree that he believes is the spirit of his dead father. So this tree becomes very important to him and he kind of revolves his life and his fortune around this tree. But then one day his family comes to visit and one of his brothers, I think he kills the tree or fells it, or he destroys the tree, it says on the back. And then it doesn't say anymore because you have to read the book to find out what happens next. I love John Steinbeck. What can I say? His stories are grand. That's the perfect word to describe them, I think. They are epic, they are heartbreaking, as I was saying, but also so important because I feel like they describe American life back in the days perfectly. Even though I'm not an American, but I'm pretty sure that he is very good at encapsulating that time era and how people were living, how they were feeling, and what it was like to be an American. I'm very excited for this one, and I think this is the one I'm the most sure about I'm going to give 5 stars to. The very last book is a classic, and that is Dorothy Whipple's High Wages. This is my last physical book of Dorothy Whipple's that I own on my shelves and that I can pick up at any time and read. By the way, let me just show you the inside papers first. They are gorgeous. So this is the Persephone edition, if you don't know already. I don't know too much about this book, but the reason why it's on this list is because I read 2 or 3 of her novels and given 5 or 4.5 stars to each of them. Because I love her books, I love her stories, I find them entertaining and I find them captivating and alluring. They make me feel good inside and they are perfect for when I'm in the mood for a great classic that will make me happy but also keep me entertained. I have read an excerpt of this book because it has one on the inside cover, but I didn't get much of an idea about the story reading that excerpt. But I don't know, I just have a feeling that this is going to be another great book of Dorothy Whipple's, and yeah, I have this feeling, that's all I can say. So let me stack the books so that you can see them in their entirety. So these are my 6 5-star predictions. I might do a video in half a year when I have read all of them, to follow up and talk to you about how I actually ended up feeling about them. But for now, I think this is a bunch of amazing stories that I have to look forward to, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to love most of them, hopefully all of them, but we will see. And that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and until my next one, happy reading!